An elementary school in Washington state is in hot water tonight after promoting a transgender book featuring top surgery to its young students. Ziegler Elementary staff set up a Pride Month display outside of the school's library. Now, that originally featured the title Felix Ever After, about a 17-year-old black queer transgender teen who has surgery to have breasts removed. Some parents objected, and the publisher itself does not recommend the book for readers who are under 14. The school has removed it from the display. Friend of the show, KTTH Seattle talk radio host Jason Rantz has been reporting on the story. He joins us for tonight's lightning round. So let's start with that story. Jason, welcome.
Thank you. Happy 4th.
Yeah, we're about to have a lot of independence and celebrating. In the meantime, these parents say they want some independence and some transparency from the school about a book they thought was way too advanced for elementary kids.
Yeah, and it very clearly was too advanced for these kids. Throwing this kind of content in front of 5 to 11-year-olds goes way too far. And in this case, it actually wasn't parents who originally complained. It was staff members who complained, saying that this principal in particular is going way too far in what he was promoting for the month. It included also talking about polyamory, I guess, and asexuality, all these things that, okay, if you want to talk to it. Yeah, to an elementary kid. If this is a 16, 17-year-old kid, I suppose you could maybe have these conversations. But for the most part, once families of the kids actually found out, they were saying, okay, no, you're going to let us have these conversations when we're ready to have them with our kids and not have it exposed to them at school.
Okay, so that book is out. Well, let's talk about this. The state superintendent of public instruction out there in Washington, I believe Washington State, Chris Reichdahl, and you can correct me on his name if that's not right.
No, you got it.
Says that critical race theory is not being taught in Washington schools. He says, we talk about the civil rights movement. We talk about the causes of the Civil War. We talk about the experiences of black Americans or white Americans. It's comprehensive history, but it is not critical race theory. You've dug into this as well.
Yes, it is critical race theory. Here's what Chris Reichdahl is doing, and it's what a lot of activists right now are doing because so many parents have momentum on their side pushing back against CRT. They're now reframing the conversation. He presented it in this interview when he said, no, we're not teaching it, as we're not teaching CRT 101. Like they're not doing a course on the history of CRT and how it became CRT, which no one is arguing. The only way you can argue that CRT isn't getting into the classroom is to completely change what the parents and the kids are actually saying. In the case of Washington State, you've got classroom after classroom after classroom, and it's not just in Seattle where you kind of expect it. They are framing the conversations using the principles of critical race theory. So when they're talking about history and when they're talking about the civil rights movement, they're talking about it with a fact-based approach to white supremacy being embedded in all of our institutions. I had a story just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago with a classroom where we got our hands on some video of the remote learning. And the teacher literally told her 8th grade class that you're learning these concepts of oppressor versus oppression so you can dismantle systems of white supremacy. That is not history. That is not civil rights. And by the way, that wasn't a science class. So Chris Reichdahl is lying. This wasn't a mistake. I think this is an activist strategy right now to completely try to take back this argument.
Well, and as we've been talking about, with a lot of issues, it seems like we're playing with semantics and we're talking past each other with some words and I think that what you're talking about is the essence of the conversation. A lot of parents are finding out about that, including this mother here in Loudoun County, which is, suburban DC. She is now fighting for open schools and intellectual freedom in the classroom, she says. She says school districts really shot themselves in the foot by keeping schools closed as long as they did because they've awakened a sleeping giant and parents are now much more aware of what's going on in public schools. She says she's not political. She was showing up at these meetings to fight to get the schools open. Then she started hearing about the CRT and everything else. And now she says a lot more parents are aware of what's going on. Quick comment from you on that case.
Yeah, that was one of the only upsides to the remote learning situation where parents were able to overhear some of the courses being taught in the living room as their kid was on their laptop, and they turned around and say, whoa, 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 what are we teaching? They would have never understood this. And the good news is now that they know that this is happening, they know the types of questions they can ask their kids once they come home from school, once they're able to go back into the classroom.
Yeah, and I think a lot of parents are finding about FOIA as well and filing a lot of Freedom of Information Act requests and getting information that is then trickling out to the rest of us so we can at least talk about what the kids are learning in the classroom. I think any parent has a right to that information. All right, Jason, you dig up so much interesting stuff. Come back again soon. In the meantime, have a great weekend.
You as well.